Hi, Diesel Johnny Boy here. I'm sorry about the road noise, not much I can do about that. I just want to do a quick video about pond maintenance. Now, this really only applies to your small garden ponds really, what my technique is. You couldn't really do this on a great big pond. Most people have just like a small garden pond. But with the trouble with the small garden ponds, they do get a bit choked up with weed. So you've got to do a little bit of regular control. So I got problems with duckweed because I accidentally introduced duckweed into my pond, and it does tend to completely cover the whole surface every few weeks. It's amazing how it regenerates, and it's very quickly that'll be covered in duckweed. So what I have to do is periodically I remove it. But as we're in early July now, you've got to be careful of fishing out baby newts if you've got newts, and you may have them, you may not, and you may not even know you've got them, but you'd soon realise it this time of year because you end up fishing the little baby ones out, which are called efts. So what I tend to do is I fill the pond up to the very top and let it overflow a bit. Then that brings the water level up as high as possible, and you can skim the duckweed off a bit easier. Now if you've got a small pond, this pond's made out of an old bathtub, I use one of these sort of sieve things, like a kitchen sieve, very cheap to get, and then usually a few quid in your thrift stores or your home bargains. You can pick one of these up, and then I try to use, and I use a white bucket. So I carefully sift the duckweed off. It's a bit difficult, I'm holding the camera, but you get the picture. Just take small amounts off, then check for the newts and any other snails and things. Look, this is what I've hooked out today. I don't know if you can see them. Let's hold that like that. The water will stop in a minute. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, about 7 or 8 maybe. They're baby smooth newts, so they were probably hatched in maybe May time, I guess. There they are. So I've carefully got those out of the sieve, and I will put them back in the pond now. Lovely little things. So that's good. They're breeding. The smooth newts are breeding in my pond. It's amazing, really. I'm really pleased about that. There they are. Look, they've still got the gills, but they've got the legs, but they're still using gills to breathe. You can just see the gills on them, little fluffy bits behind their eyes. I don't know if you can see that. Amazing, isn't it? So they're still dependent on the water where they get their oxygen from. So you don't want to be fishing these out and then dumping on the side of the pond, because then they'll quickly die if they can't wriggle back in. So look, we're going to put them back in the pond now. Carefully put those back in. There they go. In you go, little newties. So they're back in there. The snail can go back in as well. It's best to have native pondweed in it. I've got some native Potamogeton in here. Potamogeton crispus, the curly-leaved pondweed, I think it is. I've even got a couple of water soldiers, but they can be a bit invasive. Just be careful if you've got those. I can control them quite easily in my pond. And then that's the duckweed I've taken out. There are other creepy crawlies in there, so I'll dump this next to the pond. So hopefully a few other things can crawl out. I'm afraid it's inevitable that a few things will die. It's almost impossible to save everything, but ultimately you want the pond to stay healthy, because if it gets too choked up with weed, it won't be any good for anything really. There's also with the flag iris, I have to control that because that's a bit rampant. It's probably not the best thing for a small pond, but I'm able to control that, so I just cut the rhizomes away every now and again. But there you go. So that's a bit of a top tip. Use a little sieve out the duckweed when the water level's quite high. Put it into like a white bucket and you can have a look. Small amounts, and then you can see the little newts. All right, there you go then. Hope you guys are having a good summer. and I'll catch up with you later. Over and out.